My brother introduced me to his friends, which were all like juniors and seniors in high school. And one of the girl's friends like comes up and kind of like takes a liking to me.
I think the incidence of domestic abuse against men is underreported. I don't think that there's that we really still have an accurate idea, and our society still tends to think of the abuser always being male, and that's not always the case. There are women out there who are abusive.
So in the seventh grade, I was finally able to go to like the local football games, right? And in a small town, that's kind of like a big thing. But my parents like finally let me go because they were kind of strict Christian parents. We'd always grown up going to church, and I was homeschooled until the year before. They let me go as long as I went with my brother, and he didn't want to go, but he went with me at least once. And so he took me and like introduced me to his friends, which were all like juniors and seniors in high school. And so I just sat and like watched the football game with them essentially. And I kind of become friends with some of these people. And one of the girls' friends like comes up and kind of like takes a liking to me. And she's always like asking me to sit by her, and she even like gets my phone number and like interacts with me on Facebook and stuff. Texted me one night and she was like, "Hey, like I'm near your house," because we kind of lived near the high school. It was like a mile away. She was like, "Hey, I'm on the road, like outside your house." And so like I go out front, I go outside.
When we look at the demographics of victims and survivors of assault and sexual assault and domestic violence, they are predominantly women. And so that's where a lot of the funding goes towards. But that's not to say that men cannot be survivors too. But when we kind of think about this in layers, why would a man come forward if he knows that there is nowhere for him to go?
After like 20 minutes or so, we just talk about whatever. I don't even remember what we talked about. But she like starts like walking into my yard. I kind of follow her because I didn't really know what to do. And she was like, "Do you want to see something really funny?" And I was like, I guess. And she like raised her top and like flashed me. And I was very, very confused. And then like grabs me through my pants. But like I like recoiled and like stepped back, and I was like, I don't know. And all I could say was, "I don't know." She just kept laughing and laughing and laughing. And it was like, I don't know, like I didn't even know what was like going on. And so then she like came up to me again and like kept touching me. And it was very strange. And she was just laughing the whole time. And then she like steps back and she's standing there and she's like, "Take your clothes off."
Typically, whenever people think of domestic violence, they think of it towards women. So usually whenever it was towards men, the men would actually fall through the cracks a little bit more because maybe the police wouldn't believe their story as much, so they couldn't really get a temporary restraining order, or maybe they had to fight a little bit harder to prove themselves like in court. And the one male victim of domestic violence that I've seen that comes to mind, I think his wife or his girlfriend was like trying to telling everybody around him in his social circle that he was lying, that like the bruises that he had on his body were from like he would hit her first or something like that. And then finally, like she showed up at his house one day and he had the police there already. She didn't know that, but she walked in the door and just like immediately hit him in the face without seeing the police. And then the police saw that, and that's when he was finally able to get a little bit of justice.
But she's just like, no, like take your clothes off. Like I want to see you, like blah, blah, blah. And so like I eventually take my clothes off because I'm just like pressured into it. And I'm like, I can't leave. Like she's gonna like go knock on my door and tell my parents or something. And so like I like take my clothes off and I'm like shaking and just saying, like, I don't know. Like she just keeps laughing. And then like after I get my clothes off, she like comes up and like lays me down and I'm no longer physically aroused. I'm like scared. And like my biggest regret is not like saying something. But then she like gets on top of me and like undresses herself and like just like starts grinding on me and like laughing. And I'm like crying. Like I like don't know what to do. And I just like I'm like scared and I like close my eyes for like the longest time. And she eventually like got off of me and like put her clothes on and she was laughing the whole time. Then the next day, like I go to school and she's like told everybody that like I invited her over and like I was like crying, like begging her to like be with me. She felt bad and so she was, and I was really small and it was pathetic. I couldn't tell people that she forced herself on me because for one, no one would believe me. And for two, it would make me seem not cool or gay or whatever. It would be more embarrassing than what she had spread about me. And so I just accepted it, honestly. I never really did anything about it. And my mom found out and she's like, if that girl gets pregnant, you're going to have to marry her. And I'm just scared. I'm like crying and my mom's just yelling at me about how I did something like religiously wrong. And I can't tell her that it like wasn't my choice because she wouldn't care. A lot of my friends were like almost proud of me for it. You know, they were like, oh, you were with an older girl. Despite the fact that she like spread it as like an embarrassing thing that she was like making fun of me for it. Like, and so I never cared to talk about it. And no one would have believed me.